So you're probably wondering what happened after the Goblin Mines. Well, after shocking Logan to his soul and informing him that his wife was still alive and that he may have a 10-year-old necromancer for a son somewhere in the capital, he immediately led us back to the village. There was this whole debacle where he argued with the leaders, Deb yeets out the window, Alazar contemplates destroying the village council. Oh yeah, by the way, it turns out the village leaders were promoting Logan's drug addiction because they claimed it helped keep him from hurting himself. And that's a whole complicated mess of morals I'd rather not dive into, so moving on. We eventually convince everyone to let Logan go to the capital with us. However, while renting a horse and carriage, Torak's fear of horses kicks in and he refuses to get on. Red tries to calm him, but Alazar is having no more nonsense. So he tackles Torak, pins him down, and forces him onto the carriage. When we finally make it to the capital, Torak launches off the carriage and gets as far away from the horse as possible. We go to the nearest shop to purchase a map, and the snooty shopkeeper looks at us like cockroaches, then charges 1 gold. Knowing that's ridiculous, but not wanting him to think we're as pathetic as he thinks we are, we ask if he has change for valuable stones. To which we learn that having obsidian or any sort of precious stones as well as platinum is illegal because only adventurers with the gold rank are allowed to have such valuable material. Which means most of our haul from the Goblin Mines are useless. For now. So we pay the gold and leave. It's here that we do what every DM fears most. We split the party. Logan takes the horse away, Alazar, who's never been to the capital before, runs off to do his own business, and Torak and Red go to the circus. While at the circus, they see lots of interesting things. There's exotic animals, dragons, a goblin, and a particular duck with a very obviously fake set of devil horns glued onto his head. Red decides that we need to free these creatures and asks Torak to convince them to plan an escape since he can talk to animals. Using this spell, he approaches them. Each animal is really happy where they are, and I have absolutely no interest in joining them and leaving the circus. The only strange one would be the duck. When Torak asks whether he wants to break out, the duck replies, "I have important business here." What business is that? It's top secret. So they head to the magic show. Torak summons an unseen servant to interfere with the act, only to learn that the magician is pretty terrible all on his own. Taking pity on the guy, Torak has his servant try to help him instead, but in the end the guy was hopeless and gets booed off stage. Torak and Red follow him backstage to try to comfort the guy. We learn his name is Zambini, and he's been working with the circus for a while and has had a series of bad luck. Aside from his horrific magic act, he also gets attacked by crows constantly, which to him isn't so bad since he can't have food anyways, so he just knocks the crows out of the air whenever he's hungry so he can eat them. We offer to help him get back on his feet, and he mentions a magic wand rumored to be in a cave somewhere. According to him, it'll make whoever wields it the greatest magician in the world. Of course, we agree to the quest in exchange for payment. However, Zambini doesn't know where the cave is and instead gives us a small map and some hints as to where it is. He then tells us to ask Jim for further help. Jim, it turns out, is a goblin with a southern accent who works for the circus. By day, he acts like a savage in a cage. By night, he enjoys reading a good book with a nice cup of tea. You see, Jim has a ring of intellect that allows him to act more civil than most goblins. We showed him the map and he confirms that the location is to the east. We hunt down Alazar, who's been dealing with his own business. When we find him, he tells us he has something to do, and then explains to us that he was once part of a group called the Unseen Hand. One day, he met a paladin who challenged him to combat. Upon losing, Alazar had to quit working for the Unseen Hand and become a paladin himself. And guess what happened? Turns out he also has a curse on his hand that'll turn his hand into an evil monster if it ever gets chopped off. For a split second, Red's eyes clear up and she recognizes the mark on Alazar. But, just as quickly as she recognizes it, it's gone. Alazar explains that he's been tasked to find a mole in the Temple of Kor. This mole works for the Unseen Hand, and so far all we know about the group is that they're performing illegal rituals. Torak and Red then sneak back into the circus to question the duck and see if it's seen anything unusual that might help. "I'm under cover." "What?" "I can help," Torak offers. "If you're really a friend of the birds." "What is the acceptable punishment for those who go against birdie law?" "What?" Death?" "Correct!" The duck then proceeds to tell us he's spying on Zambini. Zambini is wanted by the birdie world for killing innocent birds, and they've been sending crows to assassinate him, but it hasn't been going so well. So we offer to help assassinate Zambini. The group returns to the shop for supplies, but once again are overcharged and Torak has had enough and refuses to pay. That night, he and Red set fire to the shopping district and rob the shop. Then Torak jumps out of the shadows with a bucket of water and helps put out the fires as part of his cover story. Afterwards, they meet up with Alazar, who is now wearing a dark cape and heading towards the docks to try and find the Unseen Hand. He spots a little kid and gives him a coin wrapped in a note, assuming he might be a good contact. The kid unwraps the coin, drops the note, and runs. Alazar takes chase, and when he corners the boy, the kid shouts, "I ain't selling my body to no one!" Turns out the kid couldn't read the note, and it was just a wild goose chase. Alazar eventually finds a contact who gives him a mission, and we head back to the inn for the night. In the morning, they rent a carriage with a fake unicorn pulling it. You see, Torak is afraid of horses, but unicorns aren't horses, according to him. Totally different. He also doesn't notice that the unicorn is just a horse painted with glitter and wearing a fake horn. Anywho, they arrive at the village and make it to the cave where they have to solve various puzzles to get the wand. The puzzles are pretty standard. Solve a riddle here, move these cards around there, pass a performance check, you get the picture. When we finally get to a wand, it's on a pedestal in the center of the room. Torak, immediately recognizing the trap, steps back and the door shuts on Alazar in red as it begins to fill with water. It takes a few minutes, but they eventually notice a switch under the pedestal, and upon flicking it, the water disappears and the secret room opens in the back, revealing the real wand. They take it back to Zambini and convince him to leave the circus and rename himself Gandalf the Great. He happily agrees since the circus doesn't pay him enough anyways, and we report back to the Duck that Zambini has been assassinated.